public project where there was the city put in money. I guess I don't know if they got it from in-lieu fees or where it came from, but they had money, and then there was a senior housing, South County Housing at the time was the company who did it, and it was there was so much opposition to the project because the people in the surrounding area felt that they didn't trust the system, and I think that was the biggest problem. They didn't trust the city to monitor it as a low-income senior project and who was going to live there. So that, I think, goes back to the trust issue, that we have to be able to stand up and we have to be able to rely on there being ways to monitor these situations, that they actually are going to be what they're going to be. The other aspect of that is that there's an economy of scale that we really have to be aware of when developers come to us with, it has to be so many units in order to make the numbers work. Well, there's a certain part of that is true because there's an economy of scale. So it's common you hear that discussion, it's too big, it's this, that, and the other. And it is a numbers game. It's totally a numbers game in order to make it work and to have some understanding of how that works and what it takes. In that project's particular situation, it was every unit was low-income senior housing. So the complaint that there was too many units, it was too big, was really ridiculous. But I just want to say, your elected officials are the ones who are standing behind whether these things happen or not. And that's a really important aspect for people to understand. If you want to see it happen, you've got to stand up and support those guys.
Thank you.
So,
Can I follow up?
yeah.
Say Gretchen?
Yeah.
Thank you for your work. That was really amazing work, just to point. I actually worked at South County Housing at that time.
That was great.
So Jen Linenthal.
Yes, it was definitely great.
I just wanted to point out a couple of things that you just mentioned. It's absolutely true. The economy of scale is super important. For an affordable housing developer to move forward on a project, you'll quite typically hear from them in order to get the state and federal dollars and to deal with all the
grants,
and the inspections and the layers and layers of financing and the procurement and the CEQA and the NEPA and all these things I'm throwing at you because don't worry about all that. But my point is that it takes a lot, and all those dollars pile up, the cost. And so I'd say about 40 to 50 units is about the lowest that you'll be able to financially have, because there's not only the initial cost, but it's operating it. And I wanted to ask you and maybe the community, just a point, there's 49 units, I think,
yeah.
remember,
yeah.
Senior, deeply, these are folks that, would otherwise probably be homeless or in very substandard conditions. How is that going? Because a lot of times, in order for the acceptance of more units, you look to the last one. And in Pacific Grove, I think that was 15, almost 20 years ago, that was the last one.
Yeah, that was the last one.
And
exactly.
But how is that going?
Yeah.
Is that a success? Or what would it take for that to look better? Because I do affordable housing development. I'm only as good as the last project I did. So that would be one thing, is just to understand how is that going for the folks there, the beneficiaries, and also broadly for the community. And I know Eden Housing is a really strong operator of housing. But if there's something that needs tweaking there, I'm sure they'd be responsive to it. But I just want to put that out to the community, being a partner to make sure that the interim housing that's there or any other kind of housing, we want to make sure that those are strong as possible. Because again, for the next one, everyone's going to be like, well, this is happening over there, or this is not happening, or this is good. So just want to point that out. Thank you.
Yep.
I have two questions. I'm new to the area, so this might be very naive, my first question. But I see all the land at Fort Ord, and is any of that potentially available?
Were you on Fort Ord?
Yeah, so I did represent the city of Monterey on the Fort Ord Reuse Authority, which has now been basically retired. We no longer have a kind of regional planning body for that. But so the question is, can Fort Ord be used to build affordable housing? originally, when Senator Farr worked to get that land transferred to the jurisdictions, he wanted to see it all become affordable housing. And that probably wasn't practical, as Matt says. There are cost development. So then I think originally that was going to be 50%. Well, in the end, it ended up becoming 20% affordable plus 10% what they call workforce, which is a bit of a fuzzy category, let's just say. And in reality, it's 20%. How much of that has actually been built is, again, a little bit of a point of contention. So originally, some of the former military buildings were converted to kind of, or remodeled as it were. And so they counted those refurbished, remodeled buildings, the ones that were affordable as part of the affordable allowance for the new development. That kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way because I feel like the developers of the new projects should be funding a percentage of the new projects. But in any case, it's kind of water under the bridge because we can't go back and redo what city councils and what the Fort Ord at that time did, which I was not a part of. So can we do it? Yeah, we can. There will be some, but the vast majority of it is not going to be affordable. It's going to be market rate. That's mostly what we're seeing built right now in Marina. Seaside Highlands, originally that was 100% market rate. Now the new University Village that's being planned by Seaside is supposed to include, I think, a significant amount of affordable housing. But the bottom line is it's going to be 20% and no more. And unfortunately, I don't know that that is something that could easily be changed.
Can I respond also? I just want to respond on two counts. One of his little surprises after Fort Ord closed in 1994 was that it was a Superfund site. It was a place that was severely impacted by the Army's presence there, and it was environmentally damaged. So it could not be redeveloped immediately. The other part of that is that Seaside was a minority-majority community. Was never a majority African-American, although perceived that way. And so we can really see the resistance to affordable housing in a place that was marginalized on the peninsula and treated as the stepson on the peninsula, so to speak. And so for people who lived and worked in Seaside, that resistance and the pain of that was real. And so that's why it's really important not to dismiss it or to say, well, there is a reason why the Seaside Highlands is market price. People who live there don't want to be marginalized anymore. And it speaks to these decades-long marginalizations that valued Pebble Beach, Carmel, Monterey over a place that was majority minority. So there's a real reason behind it, and we shouldn't just demonize, and we should understand where that comes from, right? But there was a reason it wasn't developed too. It was like
You had a second
an environmental catastrophe.
Yeah, you had another question.
So Kate mentioned the billions of dollars that's become available over the course of several years, and Monterey Peninsula missed out on the first round. Will any of you make us aware of what we can do in applying for some of this money for the peninsula? And if so, who would be the focal point, or who would take the lead?
So as Kate was talking about that, I was looking at my phone. I was actually emailing our city manager.
Oh, I've already
and
talked
our
to him.
planning
Oh, he's
commissioner.
probably going to be mad. I've already reached out.
Because I want to know, how do we start applying for that? Do we have any projects that could qualify or any development sites that could qualify? But so your city councils, they need to work with the planning directors of their city and figure out, are there potential development sites that would qualify, and then they need to start applying, so.
Will you be involved also, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, before we continue this, I did wanna kind of add on to what Dr. McKibben said, which is absolutely totally true. Fortunately, sometimes folks from, Monterey, PG, Carmel, our approach is, well, can't we house the homeless, or can't we house, put all the affordable housing at Fort Ord? And that's, it's understandable because there is all that land, and land is a big part of the cost of the development, so I do understand it's practical, but the idea of kind of creating greater segregation in terms of housing affordability, that should not always be kind of our default. So just wanted to say I understand your point, totally agree.
To your right, Alan. Oh, I'm sorry. Matt? Yep.
Matt too,
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say that we actually do work together really well, and Matt convenes a meeting of a bunch of people every other month, and we were on the meeting yesterday, and I got to share about some of this funding as well as SB 9 and SB 10, and Matt right away responded, let's see how we can get behind getting the peninsula to engage. I've reached out to city managers about this funding, and so, and then Alan and I have just by chance worked together through the JPA that he sits on for community human services and putting together with our board at Gathering for Women, the shelter project in Seaside. So the good news is that a lot of folks in this interim I work with all the time at Gathering for Women. So we are connected, but where you come in is just that pressure. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Are we applying for this funding? Are we in this round? Those are the kinds of questions to ask your council members, because it's really important, I think, that the peninsula come together and make an application for one of these projects. And what you may hear is that the prices on the peninsula are way too high, and we shouldn't, the price point for us to purchase one of these hotels or commercial sites or whatever it is. We have in our district, in District 17, the Senate district goes all the way down to San Luis Obispo County. There was a $15 million acquisition of a hotel in San Luis Obispo. So I don't think that should be an obstacle. The point of this bill, the point of this project is to put the housing where it's needed.
Right.
And price point is not one of the variables. So let's do it. We can do it.
Okay, Neil gets it next.
What about Matt?
Yeah, he's coming. Oh, man,
Right here.
I'll give it to you now. But I have just a simple question. What is Section 8?
Okay, Matt, yeah.
Answer
Hand
that.
the microphone.
Here you
I could answer it, man.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do you use Section 8?
I know what it is. I know how
go.
it
Is it federal? Is it
Yeah,
state?
it's federal. It's a federal resource, so it's a HUD federal resource, and so essentially it functions through the local housing authorities usually at the county level, and you can understand that basically they're either vouchers that folks apply for and they get, and then they go out on the marketplace, and there was legislation passed just recently in the last few years that now landlords can't turn that away. If they present that, then landlords must consider it. And so it pays 30% of your income, no matter what you make. And so if you qualify for that, then there's a voucher that is portable. And there's also project-based vouchers that the housing authorities make available to a certain project. As it's developed, then the project-based assistance stays there. So people apply to that particular apartment complex, and then if they again pay only 30% of their income. If it's $100 or $1,000, they pay 30%, and then and the voucher covers the rest. And what's very important about this is that it's extremely underfunded. Like if that was funded at the federal level where it should be, about half of our affordable housing issues probably go away. So that's the number one thing. So at the federal level, if we spend a little bit less money on bombs,
Amen.
More on that right away. So that's one. And then secondly, is actually a critical source to much of the affordable housing development that you see. And I'm pretty sure that there's some project-based vouchers at the senior project, as an example. In order to make that project possible, it's relying in part on those on the project-based vouchers. So you can see having enough of that resource can both have for affordability for the marketplace, and it makes the landlords pretty much whole. So why wouldn't you accept it?
Right.
And again, it's because it's a program that landlords, at least historically, say, you know what, not for me, I don't want to deal with the government, I'd rather not. Or maybe they just don't want those people there at their property, lots of different reasons. But that's just kind of what.
Yeah.
Check on.
Yeah, please.
So, wouldn't it be, in the best of all possible worlds, nice if we thought that integrated neighborhoods, economically integrated, racially integrated neighborhoods would be the ideal? Because in fact, Section 8, we know from a great deal of evidence that people who have been able to take advantage of that thrive. Those communities thrive. It really makes a difference if you are qualified for Section 8 and you live in a socioeconomically better area and raise your children there. They do better. The long-term effect is very, very important, and it's tangible. So in terms of making the world a better place, it would be nice, and I think it seems to be moving in this direction, that integrated neighborhoods should be the ideal, should be rewarded. And then you get rid of that long ingrained resistance to government funding or to the idea that if it's affordable housing, somehow it brings down property values, or somehow someone of color moving into your neighborhood brings down the value. We're still dealing with that stuff. And fortunately, policy is changing, but hearts and minds are slower. But in fact, Section 8 is such a blessing if we can convince people that it can work, because it really does work. It really makes a long-term generational difference.
I utilized Section 8 in my recovery. Interim had me apply. I was given a voucher. I was blessed with finding an apartment at the Reservation Estates. There's a program, there's an in-house program that Housing Authority can assist you with, and it helps you save money and assists you with your rent. So 5 years, you'll have a stack of money. You can either invest it, buy yourself a car, put a down payment on a home. But it's a program to help you become self-sufficient off their programs. As my income grew, I was able to I live in a 4-bedroom home with friends that we all share as a family. And I don't no longer live on my own. I realized that I didn't want to live on my own. But the programs that Hood has set up for self-sufficiency, I want to say they're above no other, because they do assist you. They will help you save your money. They will help you create those goals for you to get off that system so someone else can utilize it.
Could I have it for a minute? Before I became a pastor, I was a clinical social worker and worked for 11 years with homeless people. And we had Section 8 vouchers at the time. And the reason why people, when landlords had the option to refuse a voucher, it was because the person was poor and or a person of color. That was the primary reason why landlords said, no, I'm not interested. It had nothing to do with the money. It was all about a person being poor or of color, and I'm so happy to hear that they cannot say no. Somebody else? We're good? I wanna, before Alexanne has the last word, because she has to have no. I'm just saying. I just really I'm so grateful for this great turnout. I'm just grateful for you coming. I'm grateful for the collegial relationships that we have on the Social Justice Committee, and I look forward to part 2. It's gonna happen.
Amen. Thank you.
I am also program coordinator for a speakers panel. We have a panel of peers that go out into the community for free. They will come to your church, they will come to your business, they will come to wherever it is that they would need to, but they come with their stories of resilience, the story of how they got their happy back, all about their lives, and anywhere from a half hour to a 2-hour presentation that we can do. And this is afforded through us by MHSA Prop 63, which is the millionaire tax. They help fund this program. So if ever you would like a presentation done for your community or your business, or something that you think it could be your junior high school class, anyone that's working with the homeless and or those with the diagnosis of having a mental illness, how we impact the community, we can talk to you about that, and we do it free of charge. So talk to me after this.
Okay. And if you need any goodies for the road, we have a room full of them.
I just want to say thank you so much for putting all this together, and we would love to see more of this type of community involvement and discussion. And we would love to also, if anybody would like a presentation on the value of home sharing, and we're talking about permanent housing, we're not talking about Airbnb. I think that gets confused sometimes. So
Thanks.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Doris. Okay, Reverend Alexanne.
It's very simple. First, I want to thank all the panelists for your willingness to be part of this today and for responding to us. And I think all of us have learned a lot. I want to remind you to fill out the evaluation forms if you have, and you can leave them at the door as you go out. Please take the items on the resource table. And I think we all would like to say one more thank you to all the panelists.